Good morning, everybody. This is Morten from Inkish, back from a wonderful Printing United in Orlando. So if I look tired, it's because I'm tired. But that doesn't change the fact that I am very pleased to welcome my good friend Heiko von Gaal. So good morning, Heiko, and welcome on Inkish.
Morning, Morten, and good to see you. And you don't look too bad after a week of Printing United.
Thank you very much. And this time I kind of missed you there, but you didn't really have anything to do in Orlando this time, right?
No, although I would have liked to be there because, especially when I heard the feedback after the show, I think it was a big success with a lot of people visiting the show. And actually, the week before I was in the US, so it would have been a rather easy stop to also go to Orlando. But no, I hope to be there the next time for sure.
That would be great. And for those who don't know you, Heiko has been with Canon EMEA for, how many years is it now, Heiko?
Half of my life, yeah. For
Half of your life.
26 years, I've been with Canon. Yeah.
Canon, yeah. And I would say that when I got to know you and of course also your colleagues, always with a smile, always very interested in both the technology and the selling side of Canon, and probably a person that also many people identifies you as a Canon person, right?
Yeah, and yeah, not only in the B2B environment, but also here in my house and with my friends. Yeah, yeah, it's been it's indeed almost no more than half of my life I've been with the company, and that when you then also decide to leave the company, then after that decision you also realize how difficult it is, especially from the let's call it more the people side of the whole story. And then you really see that with some people you have worked so intensively together for many years. Some of them you have spoken to more than with your own family in some cases. And then saying goodbye is quite yeah, quite a difficult process to go to.
And I would also say that when you are in a company where they're actually capable of making photo books, it makes it even a little bit unfair because they can utilize technology to also keep all the memories even more alive, right?
Yeah, but I think I can manage that. Yeah, yeah. But
I'm
it's
sure you
indeed
can.
there's also the connection with the photo world, because Canon, of course, is much more than printing. It's also that creative photo part. So now it all comes together. Yeah.
Fantastic, yeah. And we're dancing around the new topic, but here it is, friends and followers. Heiko has a new job starting on Monday next week at a quite amazing company called RPI. And before we go to talk about what you're going to do there, Heiko, maybe you could talk a little bit what is RPI, because it's actually a quite big company, but not so well known to the public, I think, right?
RPI is a great company. It's a global player with in total more than 500 employees, quite some operations in the US, headquartered in Seattle, also big manufacturing in Seattle, but also in Rochester and in Atlanta. And also after an acquisition about 15 years ago, active in the European market. And there we have the factory in Eindhoven, which is actually well, a bit less than 2 kilometers from my house. RPI, if you look at the total company, actually I can say we now, we have two propositions. Let's call it an enterprise proposition, which is RPI Print. And RPI Print is really active in the area of, I always call it high-end customized print products, where I think a photo album is a very good example. In that enterprise business, we typically work with a kind of white label concept. So we produce the products for the big corporate brands in the world, And we do that in a very efficient way with very good manufacturing capabilities in the US, but also in Europe. So that's one part of the business, RPI Print. The other part is also based on some acquisitions, where we have, let's say, the self-publishing business with a brand like Blurb, but also MacCloud, where we actually enable creative people to design, publish, sell, and also distribute their in most cases books or magazines.
Let's look a little bit, because the photo market is, of course, a very interesting market, because I still think it's maybe a little bit higher margins than when we operate in the commercial print, but of course also has quite some requirements because of quality, because of delivery times, because of you can't mix up the photos from one book to another. It needs to be everything needs to be processed, and because you have the vast number of published books per day, so to speak, obviously the workflow and the IT and the technology in general really needs to be on a quite different level than what we see in most printing companies. When you decided to accept a position with RPI, is it the selling or is it the technical? I mean, where is your heart in this business?
Well, my heart is definitely in that combination. And also going back to your statement, I think that's a very important one. If you look at the total landscape of photo products, photo albums in Europe, but also in the world, in principle, it's not so difficult to make one photo album. I think there's many commercial printing companies in the world who can do it, but making thousands of photo albums every day with very strict KPIs and SLAs also with your end customers. There's not too many companies in the world who can do it. I think you can mention some, especially on the European side, but it's not dozens of companies who can do that job every day, delivering the thousands of books with the right feedback also to the customers, with the right distribution to make sure that the right photo album comes at the right people. And I think in that perspective, also with the investments that RPI has been doing in the last years, not only in equipment, because equipment is one. They even bought quite some Canon inkjet presses in the last 12 to 18 months.
Have you been involved in that process at all?
Wow, I'm not aware of that.
Not aware.
That's one.
But talking about it, I think it's kind of funny because RPI is also an HP side, right? So suddenly the Canon born and bred Heiko van Gaal, he also have to look at what used to be a competitor but now a supplier. That must be a little bit funny, right?
Isn't that beautiful to also see that from the other side? I think the most important element is investing in the right IT power and development power. And as I told you, I was in Rochester in the new factory of RPI 2 weeks ago, and I also had the opportunity there to meet the people, also the leadership team, but also the new hires who are now responsible for this part of the business, IT development, APIs, how to embed your favorite AI topic into these activities. And I must say I was blown away by the quality of these people and also the activities that they've been doing in the last 6 to 12 months to make big steps there, really big steps. And it's all about, if you work for these big brands in the world, it's all about making it easier for these brands to sell their products online. And there, printing is important, finishing is important, but this whole connection topic is really the crucial topic. And I think RPI does a fantastic job there at the moment.
One of the things I can't help think about is that if we rewind time maybe 20 years ago, right, it was very clear that you have OEMs on one side and you have printers on the other side, right? I think it's quite interesting today when you mention that the printer has to create all the APIs and the connections, because in some way they also become a kind of an OEM to their subcontractors, and how they engage with each other. So a printing company today is also an IT company, is also a very vast development house. I think that sometimes we forget that some printing companies probably have more IT people than the OEMs have, right?
Yep.
So it's funny how these things are mixed up a little bit. It must also, I saw a little bit online about how you present yourself, and you have like these, you have a lot of IT connections to the customers you have, that where we as consumers don't even know that it is you guys that produces it, right? And that seamless integration is just like, okay, there's another photo book coming into the flow, and we don't know whether it comes from A, B, or C, right? All these things, it's just fantastic to think of for a second. And the reason why I mentioned is just because that I think is also interesting in the perspective that the OEMs and the PSPs needs in the future to have an even closer relationship with each other in order to become successful business partners, right?
Yeah, and I think this is a crucial topic, and you call it fantastic. It's on the other hand, it's also a big challenge, yeah, for the industry, because being able to have these IT capabilities means investing a lot in especially in good people. And I think many companies in the world at the moment don't have the investment power to invest in these people. And of course, you can also rely on third parties for these capabilities. But I think it's really strong that RPI has all the power in house. And you're right, it's becoming an ecosystem. You have to work together also with your with the development teams and the IT teams of your end customers. And I think as more and more of the total print work in the world is moving towards an online ordering process, if we like it or not, it's just the fact of life. If we compare 5 years ago with today, and we look also into the future, there will be more printed stuff ordered online. And then these topics are crucial, and will make it more and more difficult also for the real small players in the world.
Maybe because if you look again also at the integration parts from the web storefronts today, I think that even if you buy a relatively cheap web storefront, it has quite good APIs out of the box. But you're right, the scale of economy and the scale of production, the scale of everything is of course becoming more and more difficult. But I also guess that who is actually producing something is not maybe so important as it used to be, because as you say yourself, RPI is a brilliant example that you can just, in quotation, hook your APIs together, and then you can produce for me if I wanted to have a photo book shop here in Denmark, for example, right? So I guess that you're totally right that it narrows down a little bit who can be, let's say, the companies that have the resources for doing this. And at the same time, I think more and more of the web storefronts, even the cheap ones, have easier access connecting with, for example, RPI. Well, but Heiko, let's move a little bit. I mean, because half your life went on the OEM side, and you have learned a lot about a lot of businesses. What is your role with RPI, and what are you supposed to do there?
My role, you asked before, is it more the sales side or the technology? And I said, well, it's the combination. In my role, I will start indeed next Monday. I will be responsible for sales in Europe. So RPI on a global level has a big sales team, also with good people here on the European side, but also on the US side. We think that there are quite some opportunities to grow and to diversify also the business in the European market with some global accounts, but also with maybe some new businesses that we don't deliver today.
Does that mean that obviously you're not going to go and visit Mr. and Mrs. Jones to sell one book to each of them, right? But this is like finding companies that use photo related products where you can have that integration so you can get, thousands of orders a year, or it could be photo dealers or websites that have need for this type of print. So that is the type of customers we're looking into, right?
Yeah, it can be photo related business. It can also be other businesses. The good thing is we have these fantastic manufacturing capabilities in here in Eindhoven, but also in the US. What we typically see, Morten, is that the traditional photo album business, of course, is an extremely seasonal business. In the coming weeks, the real peak season is coming up, and it means that a lot of your capabilities are really centered in a period of, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks, while there's still 10 or 10 and a half months in the year that you might not need that full capacity that you have. And I think that's the opportunity for the industry, but also for RPI, to see how can we find businesses that we can fulfill from a manufacturing and distribution perspective, but that potentially fit better in the seasonal pattern that we have to deal with today. And yes, that can be photo products, but can also be other high-end photo books or high-end books, or books in typically we are in the run length, let's say run length 1. So people typically order 3 books, 5 books, 10 books, maybe 40 books. But with the capabilities we have, we can also go in a bit larger orders, of course. And that's typically something we're looking at right now.
We have obviously over the years filmed a lot of Book of One printers, and many of them have connected to PrintOS, to Gelato, to Cloud Printer, to Ingram, these type of companies. Is that also who you're aiming at, or are you looking for more specific customers?
No, the examples that you gave are, by the way, fantastic players here in the total ecosystem. We have built these capabilities ourselves, so we've also been working together with some of these parties also in the past. But we also want to build these capabilities ourselves, and especially this whole workflow API ordering connection. But of course, it's good to look at it also from that perspective, because the players you were mentioning are players who are also showing how the world looks like in the future. More and more products will be ordered online, and you have to manage that in a certain way. And RPI does that in their own way. Yeah.
Fantastic. Heiko, I guess that you look forward to start on something new, and maybe also a little bit excited, or
Yeah, it's quite funny now, because officially I'm 1 month off. So my last day at Canon was 30th of September, finishing all my transition and handover activities to my successors. And then I said, well, let's start on the 1st of November. So that's next Monday. But you know me a little bit, Morten, so I have not been sitting still in the last weeks. And
no, you've been reading books, of course, and just enjoying seeing these fantastic products that you can produce soon yourself, right?
Yeah, reading books and doing some things to prepare on the new job. I'm really looking forward to that. It's a thing that I've been thinking a lot about in the last months. Also thinking about what really gives me energy. And with all the conversations I had with the people from RPI here in Eindhoven, but also on the US side, there's a very good fit with the people. Culture and people is a very important topic for RPI. And if then there's also a very good fit on a personal level, and also on, let's say, a cultural level, that gives a lot of energy. So I'm looking forward to start on Monday. Yes.
As when you deep undercover told me about RPI just a few days ago, I was thinking that it's a company that I didn't know so well, and then I realized that I actually interviewed one of your colleagues at an online print symposium some years ago. So, and I remember when I did that, I can't remember his name right now, but when I did that, I remember I was blown away by when he talked about RPI, because I thought, wow, I should have known them better. Maybe I have a chance to get to know you a little bit better now, right? Under all circumstances, I am excited on your behalf. I'm very sorry on Canada's behalf, but I think you are a person that don't slam the doors. I'm sure you will continue to have a good relationship, and I think it's a great opportunity for you. I think I have a friend here in Denmark, Jacob. You know him as well, and he says that every person that works with an OEM should have some work with a printer themselves before they are on the OEM side, because you learn so much about the reality and not just the theories, right? So maybe that's your opportunity, Heiko. Who knows?
That's my opportunity, and I think you mentioned the word relationships and partnerships. I think also looking forward to the future. That's again a crucial element, because I think nobody can work by himself or by herself. It's all about the connections, the partnerships, the relationships, and that's one element that I also really look forward to. And that's maybe also a little bridge to your event in January, Morten.
I hope so. Yeah.
So I'm asking you right now if I'm still allowed to come in January to your non-event.
Actually, I thought that that's one of the reasons why we should meet, because the entry to the non-event is happening on camera with Inkeys, right? So I thought that was one of the reasons why we should talk today, so you knew that now you have an entry on the non-event. I actually think it's interesting that now you mentioned it. It's not because I want to do a promo of it as such, but the next non-event is about urbanization. And I think that let's say individualization, that personalization, that books of one that RPI is producing is a very topical in the same context, because I don't think that consumers in the future will accept too much waste. I don't think, I also know from RPI, I looked at your website, that sustainability is something that is very important to you guys, right? So I mean, maybe you can also learn something from the non-event and bring that back and maybe even put RPI on the next level, right? Who knows, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So great that I have an entrance ticket now, and
of course,
I'll make sure that together with a colleague we'll be there. This
fantastic. You're always welcome, you know that. And I also thank you very much for the opportunity to be at least one of the first to break that you have got this new fantastic opportunity with RPI. And I look forward also to see more about what you produce and all those interesting things in the future. So Heiko, all the best from the Inkeys team, and looking forward to see you in person very soon. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks a lot, Morten, and have a great day.
And you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.